put it on the church's website, or church's computer up there. Matthew chapter 18 is where we are headed. As they get that going, just a little background about myself here until we get the video to play for Child Impact. I have been an associate pastor for the last few years. I've studied at Pacific Union College in California, where I'm from. Thank you for the prayers for the fires. I personally am from Sacramento, up in Northern California, so my family's not close, but my dad does work for the state, and he has to process all documents that people are going to need for their home insurance, so I foresee a lot of overtime coming for him. That always happens when fires break out in California. There. So I studied a year at Pacific Union College, and I studied a couple of years at Southern Adventist University when me and my wife moved out here in 2021. I love it out here. Don't really want to go back, especially when I see a bunch of fires breaking out there. It's lovely here in the South. There. So I was working as an associate pastor. I learned about Child Impact when I was a student at Southern, and our CEO, Tom Evans, came and did a presentation for the theology department there, and let me get this going. I thought it'd be such an awesome place to work someday, but I didn't know how that would work out. But I took a different turn in life. Ooh. After my second son was born. Just like sort of go in there. Oh. Can you go? Sorry. And me and my wife decided to settle here in the South. And there was an opening in Child Impact. And so I went for it. God blessed, and I'm able to be here. And I want to share a little bit about why I'm so passionate about children. And now, obviously, being a father that I just mentioned, that's one reason. Let's see if I can... Is it my adapter that won't read anything?
No, it's between Mac and PC. It may or may not recognize it.
You know what? I may have to restart my computer. It seems like weird things are happening here. It's not even reading your thing. Let's restart this. So I have two children. One is 3, his name is Judah, and my youngest one is just 18 months old now. His name is Jemuel, one of those random Bible names we found. My wife loves J names, and so she liked that one. Her name is Jenny, so it goes along with her. My youngest son, though, was born 3 months prematurely. They barely made it into the final trimester before he came prematurely. And so he spent 76 days in the NICU up there in Chattanooga. Let me get into this computer real quick here. Okay, now it's reading it. Thank you. We're going to put these presentations over here. All right, as that's loading up. So we had quite a scare with my youngest son being in the NICU, and all the treatment that was needed, all the nursing, all of the cost, everything that went into him being in the NICU for so long really made him very precious to us. He was born 2.5 pounds. My whole hand probably would cover most of his body at first, so we felt very blessed to have him alive there and returned to us. Even when he was returned to us for months, he still had to be on special oxygen all of the time, special oxygen machine in my home that I came to hate, even though it was keeping him alive. The beeping noises and everything that would happen were a bit annoying, but we were happy to keep him alive. Is that working? Is the video, Oh, okay, sorry. It looked like it was about to come on. I think this is loaded for you guys. Here, let me check that. All right, thank you. But as I thought of Child Impact and what we do for children abroad, in Africa and India, in other places in Southeast Asia, in Colombia and Mexico, many different countries, over 20 countries we work in now, many children, many parents in those countries and those lands would never have the access to what my youngest son had if anything like that happened to them. If a child is born prematurely, it's most likely not going to survive. It's going to be very, very tough. So that really, really struck me and really motivated me to want to work for such an organization that is seeking to help those children. As I think of what was done for my son, I want to somehow try to impact other young lives, whether they're babies all the way up until adulthood. What can I do to give back? What can I do to try and be a blessing to children who do not have the resources that my child had? So that's why I work with Child Impact. Now, going to the scriptures, to Matthew chapter 18. I want to get close to our scripture reading for today. We're going to start Matthew 18, chapter 1, or verse 1, excuse me. Chapter 18 and verse 1. Scripture reads, "At that time the disciples came to Jesus and asked, 'Who then is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven?'" Such a prideful question to ask. We humans are infected with the pride of the fallen one who led our ancestors into the first sin. And still here you see it affecting the disciples, still affects us all today. Still a question we may just not want to admit it. See how Jesus handled this question and this pride. Verse 2, "He called a little child to him and placed the child among them. And he said, 'Truly I tell you, unless you change and become like little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven.'" Jesus is getting real serious now, and he wants to use a child as an illustration for them. Now, for us in America, we've probably heard this verse before. Growing up in the church, we probably understand it, have heard it explained. But I don't think that we in America go through, culturally, what Jesus and the disciples grew up with there. A child in social status back then was the lowest of the low. They're in a patriarchal society. The man obviously is going to be high above in a family. He's the one bringing in the income. He's the one keeping the family alive through his means, and they are also the religious leaders of the community. So the men are way up here, the women are way down here, unfortunately, and the children are still below that. And so you can see what Jesus is trying to do to them. They're very prideful. They're trying to be on top. They're asking this question, and Jesus says, "You want to be on top? Go to the bottom." Amen. You want to be on top? Go to the bottom, where this child is in society. Now, of course, it's not God who made people think that way, who set up that social culture. If we read the Old Testament from Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, all the minor prophets, almost every single one of them have a rebuke for the Israelites. And in almost every single one of those prophets' rebukes, they come to mention the fact that Israel did not support the fatherless, the widows, the downtrodden in society. They either did not support them, did not help them, or they actively exploited them there when it's really bad in Israel. God's always mentioning this over and over and over again. He cares so much about the lowest in society. Verse 4, therefore, whoever takes the lowly position of this child is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. It's a prideful sort of nature that makes them want to be the greatest, and Jesus says you have to shed all of that prideful nature if you really want to be great. He values the humility, he values the place of a child. And then we come to one of the strongest warnings that Jesus, I think, ever gives in all of Scripture. Verse 5, and whoever welcomes one such child in my name welcomes me. If anyone causes one of these little ones, those who believe in me, to stumble, it would be better for them to have a large millstone hung around their neck and to be drowned in the depths of the sea. This is one of those places, we normally don't want to bring up when we're talking about the love of God and all these things. This rebuke normally doesn't make it into those types of stories or children's stories or these things here. But Jesus definitely said it. Yeah, this is the kind of thought, of reaction God has to people who want to actively harm a child. And as I said, the prophets often rebuked Israel just for not protecting the children from being harmed in this way, protecting the downtrodden from being harmed. And so this is what Child Impact exists for. Since the 1960s, we have been sponsoring children who have lived in abject poverty to go to Adventist mission schools. It started in India, as I said, now has expanded to over 20 countries where we sponsor children. And in the last decade, we have started to, I wouldn't say shift our attention, but started to emphasize something we call Operation Child Rescue, actively seeking to fight human trafficking. Not just poverty, but those who are in especially vulnerable situations. Many of our projects have that rescue component added to them now. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. I was hoping I would give enough time for the videos to get loaded up there, but we may just have to continue forward until they come. I may just have to vividly tell you about some of them until the videos pop up here. But let us keep going in this scripture. I want to sort of break down verses 5 and 6 just a little bit more with a little bit of illustration. So going back to verse 5. It says, and whoever welcomes one such child in my name welcomes me. Seems like a very easy thing for us to do, especially as Americans, to welcome a little child. Anytime we see a little child run up to us with a big smile on our face, a big smile probably breaks out on our face here. It's very, very common in America. No one wants to disrespect the child. No one wants to treat them poorly, especially in front of other people. There's some nefarious people out here, but mostly a normal person in society would not want to disrespect them. Not so in many parts of the country, especially in India. You may have heard of the caste system that exists in India. There are certain social statuses very similar to the ancient Near East that Jesus lived in. I don't think the ancient Near East was this bad, but in India, there are those called the untouchables. There in India, you call them the Dalits there. And Child Impact has been fortunate enough to make it into one of their slums, one of their neighborhoods, and truly help them. Now, these women in this part of India, who are known as the Dalits, the untouchables, very, very difficult to get a normal job because of their social status, simply because of prejudice there and what exists in that culture. They apply for jobs, and it comes out that their address or whatever is located in or around this slum area. Very difficult for that application to go through. And so they just don't have the same choices that we have in America. In fact, choice when it comes to career and all these types of things is very first world type of idea, very Western idea. In the East, with abject poverty and caste systems like this, choice, it really does not mean the same thing. And so unfortunately, these women, in order to survive, find themselves tempted to enter the sex trade. There. At a certain time at night, they just go out, sit on the porch, and the customers start coming. There. And these men are not nice there. It's often abuse that happens, cigarette butts put out on them, all types of scars and things that these women end up with. Not just physically, of course, mentally, emotionally, everything they have to go through. And so, no videos, okay.
It's Keynote file, we can't open it in PowerPoint.
I see, okay. No worries, we'll have to go through. All right. So what we did for these women is to set up a tailoring program, a simple trade, just one simple trade taught to these women. Most people are not going to come and try and teach them something simply because of the social caste. And so we are able to come in, offer a tailoring program. It's about 6 months long, and women enter it. When they get out of it, they know how to make clothing, they know how to make bags, they get their own sewing machine, and they pretty much run their own business after going through this program. That right there, the first year that we ran this program, it cut prostitution in that slum by 50% immediately. Now it's going on. There's more talk of the design classes and things being put into this program, and more young girls, before they get caught up in getting themselves into this wrong trade, they get the training on the right trade there. They are entering the school at younger and younger ages, 17, 16, some of them, so they are ready, and they do not get themselves trapped into abusive situations. Now, we're called Child Impact International. That seems like a little bit of an older demographic that we're targeting, but this is what happens. All those women have children. And think of, I don't know if we can even imagine it, being a child whose mom goes out at night onto the porch to attract customers that are going to come in and abuse her. Think of the trauma the child probably faces. And there, by changing the situation for the parent, you change the situation for the child. There. So that's one way in which we have tried to work and tried to welcome these children in and change the future of these children. Because most people who grow up like that, you just do what you grew up seeing others do, especially your parents, and you get trapped in a cycle of poverty, a cycle of abuse, a cycle of prostitution even there. So we are seeking to change whole generations through projects such as that, simply by just teaching them a little simple trade. It's not even something that makes you rich or anything like that, but no one will teach them just because of their social status. God says, be welcoming, welcome children and adults there. So going on to verse 6. If anyone causes one of these little ones, those who believe in me, to stumble, it would be better for them to have a large millstone hung around their neck, to be drowned in the depths of the sea. I want to give you some statistics that may arouse some righteous indignation. It's meant to arouse that, though. I want to, if I had that here. All right, we're going to run through this quickly. Before the age of 18, this is children globally, not just in India or America. Before the age of 18, one out of every four girls is sexually abused. A quarter, 25%, before the age of 18. 1 out of every 6 boys is sexually abused. So God is speaking directly to these people. 70% of the abusers have more than one victim. Those who engage in it once, normally if they get away with it, continue to engage in it, with 20% having between 10 and 40 victims. Those engaged in human trafficking or partaking in it, purchasing these children, getting involved with these trafficking rings. 1 in 5 children are solicited sexually while on the internet. Very important to monitor what our children are doing on the internet. I'll talk more about that in the afternoon program, and I think I can definitely have a video ready for that as I transition that into PowerPoint. So this is why Child Impact felt like it was time, not just to be sponsoring children out of poverty there, but to get directly involved in human trafficking work. We did a survey all around the world of Adventist ministries and who had projects active that were actively engaged in fighting human trafficking. And it was depressing, to say the least. And so we felt like we needed to turn our attention to this. So we partner with many schools. In India, every school we work with and every project we work with is partnering. Helping Hand is an organization in India that we partner with. In Colombia is a big one that we just opened last March. Colombia, how many people have ever seen or heard of the movie The Sound of Freedom? Sound of Freedom. Okay, maybe not that many. It's definitely a movie focused on the fight against human trafficking on the legal side and going in and actually rescuing children there. But it's based in Colombia, where the agent goes and does all his undercover work and breaks up this trafficking ring is Colombia. And so in Colombia, the statistics are alarming as well. 200,000 children in Colombia are sexually abused each year. Many small villages along the Amazon and things like that, where there's not a lot of police, not a lot of enforcement there. The children are endangered. They have culturally these celebrations. I don't know if it's monthly or certain parts of the year where a lot of alcohol is used. Even the children are given alcohol, obviously leading to dangerous situations there. So we had a partner named Delise in Colombia. And she had a dream of helping these children, of changing these children's lives. Amazing things happened there. There was a woman, she wasn't Adventist, she was of a Protestant background, but she had a dream. She had a dream telling her that the Adventists were coming to help. The Adventists were coming to help. She had sort of a similar dream to Delise, wanting to help these children be rescued out of sexual abuse. And so she literally met Delise in a bank, I believe it was, in Colombia. And heard something about Delise being an Adventist and went up to her, asked her what she's doing. Delise described the program. We call it Weaving Dreams in the Amazon. There, I can't say it in Spanish. But yes, she talked of that partnership, and so this woman became a huge financial backer of her project. She's opened up a rescue home pretty much for children who come there, they're educated, have good meals, they get out of dangerous situations. There in Colombia, there are rebels. There's often fighting, I wouldn't call civil war, but infighting there between different groups and tribes and things there. And so it's in a very dangerous part of the country where the safe house is. And so Delise was worried that the rebels would not like what she was doing in rescuing these girls and sometimes boys from these different situations. But God worked in a miraculous way, and the rebels came and said, hey, if we are truly revolutionaries who want to change things, then we need to protect what you are doing. This is good for our country there. So God helped to soften the hearts of these rebel leaders. The government got involved. The head of police in the city, forgetting the name of the city here, in Colombia, is an Adventist. Head of police. When he heard what Delise was trying to do, he went sort of full court press. I don't know the terminology they use in the police there, but he arrested 70 child abusers in the course of just a couple of weeks. That was back in March of 2024. That number is well above 100 now. And so he is a backer of Delise's project. When we go to Colombia, it's often dangerous, and we need police protection as we travel around and view different projects and things like that, and we have that partnership with the head of police. It is very, very fortunate that we do. There is different levels of parliament there. There's the president, there's someone right below him, and then there's a third person. I believe he's president of parliament in Colombia. He has come and visited Delise's project, the Child Impact Project, and wants to get behind it. There, the president of the country, I have heard, is interested as well in visiting that project. And so I mentioned Colombia because our CEO was very passionate when he came into Child Impact to try and affect an entire country. There did not know how that was going to happen, didn't know what God was going to do, but in Colombia it seems to have begun to happen. There with the project getting notoriety amongst government officials. So we are very, very happy for that. 35,000 children are involved in commercial sexual exploitation in Colombia alone. So that's what we're trying to combat. Going forward, let me see here. Oh, I do want to get into this one. Here, we're going to jump down in our scripture reading. If you go back to the Bible, here I'm getting caught up in the stories here. Verse number 10, excuse me. My version, it says, "See that you do not despise one of these little ones." Other versions, they say, "Be careful, don't think these little children are worth nothing." Yeah, probably a clear word type of versions. My brother was reading there. I was blessed by his reading during Sabbath school there. But this is what Jesus is saying. He's speaking to the culture of his day who did not value children, and he tells them to be very careful. Do not think that they are worth nothing. They're very, very, very important. Who knows what the average cell phone bill is for the average couple, husband and wife, cell phone bill in America? Yes. What would you guess? $150 average. Any other guesses? Average cell phone bill. You guys agree? All right. According to Google, it's like $80 to $120, so I guess people get some discounts or whatever it is there. Got a nice carriers. Their average electric bill, what would you say? Average electric bill in your home per month? $300. $300, all right. About 70? All right, some people can take the cold, take the heat. Google tells me about $144 is the average electric bill in America today. Guess what the average cost of a slave is globally? Some say 10, 30, little bit more valuable, $90. $90 now, about the average cost of a slave. Get a child, get a young person, use them over and over and over again, just $90. There. More than the average little bills that we have here in America, things we pay every single month. Don't even think about it. Cell phone, electric bill, car bill. Their human lives are being bartered for less than this. Less than this. Very, very sad. Jesus says, "See that you do not treat these children like they are worth nothing." Very shocking. You don't have to turn there, but Revelation 18, verse 13, when it's talking about the end-time Babylon in prophecy, it mentions all the horrible things that are being done in Babylon. It mentions the luxury of Babylon. It mentions all these things that's being sold there. All types of wood and garments and jewels and all these things. And at the end, Revelation 18, verse 13, you can check this later or right now if you want to. It says, "And they sell the souls of men." There. It's not just materials, not just non-living things that are being sold in end-time Babylon. It is slaves. Slavery is predicted to exist in the end of time, and we know it's alive and well. I forgot to mention, today there are more slaves in the world than there ever have been. Over 50 million. There's more than the population, the entire population of California and a half almost. I mentioned California because it's the most populated state in America right now. And they're all over the place. We have this going on. Well, Jesus is warning, do not think that these children are worth nothing. For I tell you, going back to verse 10, that their angels in heaven always see the face of my Father. In Colombia, we had an amazing story when Delise first started rescuing girls in Colombia. There was one girl who suffered from what they believed to be demon possession. Yeah, break into seizures, would even have strange voice, and all types of things that you sort of see in movies. They're going on there. And so the teachers one day gathered around as something was happening in front of everybody. They started singing songs and singing hymns and things and praying for this young girl. At the same time, there were 7 young girls outside the building, outside the safe house. They claimed to have seen 2 angels above the building. They said one pointed down a path that was dark, one pointed down a path that was light. There, and both the angels went down that path of light. If ever you needed an illustration of the great controversy going on, that immediately reminded me when I heard this story of the great controversy. What's happening there? Jesus reminds us Their angels are with these little children, though they go through horrible things, oftentimes. Though it seems like injustice gets away, justice is not served in many of these situations, Jesus warns, the angels in heaven are watching. The angels in heaven see. Sometimes they intervene, sometimes it's not best for them to intervene, but they see. Nothing goes unnoticed. Jesus is saying, warning those who do not value children, that you will not get away in the end. Though justice may not be served here in this life, everything has been written down. No man wants to face that in the judgment. But for us, obviously, we're not in here as perpetrators. I don't assume anyone in here is a perpetrator. But we have to ask ourselves, what are we going to do? What can we do? Can we do anything about what's happening globally? I've listed off statistics that seem otherworldly when I first heard them. Millions of lives, even hundreds of thousands. What could I possibly do? What difference could I possibly make? That's the wrong question to be asking, or at least the wrong thing to be thinking about when you think about huge numbers there, because Jesus didn't ask me to reach huge numbers of people. Jesus just asked me to reach one, at least one. Do something for one. Every day. There was never a tally. There was never a number given that I'm supposed to reach. I'm just supposed to try. If I can just reach one, that would be enough. If I can affect one, maybe I'm not there. Maybe it's just through my means, through my prayers, through preaching to you right now and raising awareness, whatever I can do. If it only helps one child today, it is still worth it. If it only helps one of those slaves trapped in an abusive situation, it is worth it, because they are worth eternity. They're worth eternal life. Jesus gave his life for all of them. They are very much worth it. I want to give a small description, and we're coming to a close here, a small description of our special project. I'll go more deeply into it this afternoon, but there's a special situation going on in the Philippines. This year we're focused very, very much on the Philippines, what is happening there in the jungle villages there of Palawan. They're very, very tourist-friendly place, a place many people love to go. I believe it's been voted the most beautiful island for many years running there. But what people don't notice as they go there for vacations and enjoy the wonderful beaches and the warm water and beautiful sights is the lifestyle up in the village, the mountain villages. They are practicing early child marriage. They're young girls as early as 9 years of age being married off there for a small dowry. Girls sold for 7 pounds of candy. We heard one story. We go, our teachers in the jungle schools that we have 11 of them. As the girls go on break and come back, there's always inevitably some that do not come back. And so the teachers have to go hiking miles and miles up mountains looking for these children that did not come back to their schools. And most of the time, it is because they have been set to marry, being forced into it almost. And when the teachers get there, in order to free these girls from their situation, because most of them would never agree to it themselves, if you ask them, they say, I want to go back to school. They don't say, I want to be married. I'm ready to be married. The only way to free them is to pay the dowry. And unfortunately, most of the men or fathers that are forcing this to happen, they know the game. And so if you're coming and you want to free a girl, it's not the regular dowry you're going to pay. Is about 5 to 10 times the dowry. But even that, it's laughable. The currency exchange here. We go up, we try to free these girls. We think we're going to have to pay thousands of dollars, and they ask us for $40 for their daughter. That was the dowry the husband was paying to get these little girls. There, $20. This type of money. This is unfortunately, the culture. Unfortunately, what people have learned, that if you have a daughter, it's just a matter of time before you're going to get something out of her. She is just an object, unfortunately, to be sold. And so what we have done, we've purchased land up there in these mountainous villages, and we are building a rescue campus there. It first started by just being a rescue safe house for the girls that was going to be able to house about 50 of them, so they did not have to return to their village if they were in danger of being married off during their breaks. They would have a place to stay. But it has now evolved into the idea to build a whole school campus. And so last year we finished the $275,000 fundraising for the girls' dorm. The Collegedale Community Church has committed to raising another $200,000 this year to build the school block that's going to go there and a missionary home. And then we are now fundraising for the boys' dorm, about another $200,000 that will take there. That is our special project. When our CEO visited the Philippines last year, he talked to a young girl. Her name was Reina. Young girl he interacted with, made friends with. Most of those children are extremely shy. They don't want to talk to you. But one girl was open, and the CEO even exchanged numbers, contact info with the young girl. And when he got back to America, he got a text message saying how lovely the visit was and that she hoped to be a nurse. She wanted to go to school, and she wanted to be a nurse one day. And she said in a text message, "I hope you'll be back to sponsor us." And our CEO, Tom Evans, he replied, "Of course, we want to sponsor you." And he sent the picture to our videographer, who is from the Philippines. His name is Jasper. There, he sent it to him, and Jasper came back with the news that that girl had already been married off. That girl was married. And so Tom texts back the girl. If I had the picture on the screen, you would see the girl looks like she's 11 years old or so. There. So he texts her back saying, are you already married? And she texts back with tear emojis and saying she's crying every night. It's so painful. She wants to go to school, but her husband says she cannot go back to school. And so in some situations, it's a bit too late. So that's what we're trying to change. Some girls, they're married off, but they can still get out of it for the right price. One girl already had a child when she was about 12 years old, and she literally goes to school holding the baby, and the teachers have to hold the baby while she takes her tests and do her work and stuff like that. So we are building a safe house, a dormitory for girls like her. I can house her baby, everything in there. So that is our special project, what we're trying to do in the Philippines. Oh, I could tell so many stories. I think I'm gonna end it there. The afternoon program, I'll be able to share more. I'm going to go more deeply into practical training on human trafficking, give you a couple more little quiz questions about what's happening here in the U.S. especially. And then we can go into more of the secret projects that I cannot mention while being live streamed. They're going on in countries that could endanger the lives of people working there. And so we'll go into a little bit of that. But for today, as I close out here, I want to jump down to verse 14. Jesus, here after verse 10, he gives a little short version of the parable of the lost sheep. There, not as long as you find in Luke 15, but he gives a little short version, and he ends it here in verse 14, saying, "In the same way, your Father in heaven is not willing that any of these little ones should perish." He goes looking for them. And I believe he wants us to join in this work, join him in this work of trying to rescue the little ones, trying to rescue as many as possible. Outside in the foyer there on the table, you probably have seen it walking in already. There we have children available for sponsorship. Most of them are from Thailand, where there is a civil war going on in Myanmar. Our school is right on the border of Thailand and Myanmar. If you don't know, Myanmar has the longest running civil war in the world right now, about 80 years it has been going on and off there. So what families are having to do is literally send their children across the border alone to get to safety. There, the parents often cannot even accompany them. There, they just want them to go to a better place to get out of harm's way because young children are being enlisted into the army in Myanmar. There, and so we have a school right there on the border, and it is packed. It is beyond packed with students there. And so that's why most of the students you'll see are from Thailand. Most from our Sunrise Orchard School is what it's called. We have faculty members there staying with 15 kids in their homes and stuff like this there. So huge need in Thailand. So we have that. For over 50 years, Child Impact International has been focused on one-to-one sponsorship. There, a family, an individual can sponsor a child for just $50 a month and pay for their education, pay for their meals, pay for their backpack, pay for equipment, all of those things. It is an amazing, wonderful program there. What we are finding moving into the future is that a group sponsorship model works much, much better. A much better use of means there, much less work for the in-office staff, so we do not have to have so much overhead, and the majority of donations can go straight into the field there. So we are moving, that is what Operation Child Rescue is about there. Giving to Operation Child Rescue encompasses all of our projects. And eventually, we're probably going to have all of our projects under that umbrella. And so if you're wondering, if you're interested in getting involved, interested in partnering with Child Impact International, and you're wondering, how can I give best? What's the greatest need? I would say Operation Child Rescue. Monthly donors to Operation Child Rescue. You literally can give whatever monthly. $1, $100, $1,000, whatever you want to give there. But everything helps. But for those interested in one-on-one sponsorship still, that's why we have the children out there for you to view as well. And as I go into the afternoon program, I invite you to come back. We're going to do a drawing, have soap, and a special bag from India. The soap is made by Rescue Girls. We had bags that were made from the tailoring program, but we all sort of gave them all away. We're waiting on another shipment to come over as we support their business. But we do have a bag that was made in India. So we want to give that away in a drawing this afternoon and want to fill you in on a little bit more of what we're doing there. So I'm going to let the closing song play and say a closing prayer and let us get to lunch and continue in the afternoon.